All right, hello everyone. It's the bit hypest time of the year. It is daily cast season. Oh, oops, that card's not supposed to be up, and neither is that one. Hey, first stream of the session. But I'm joined by three wonderful guests to talk about the very first day of spoilers for Rebellion Without Rehearsal. And so rather than have a big pre-vamp, I want to just start introducing them. So first, Aksu, hi, hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you start playing Netrunner? And what are you most excited about for spoiler season?
Yo, what up? I think I started like couple of years ago or something. Actually, like my first deck was the Jai's last APAC. The Hoshiko deck from that was my first deck in standard. So around that time, I'm currently like probably most excited for getting PD more stuff. I think that's always fun.
Nice, nice. All right, Jai, you're up next. Do you want to do a little introduction for for people that don't know you for some reason?
Some reason. Well, just happy to be here. Uh, in terms of what I'm looking forward to the most for this set is, I suppose, the upcoming and inevitable Hoshugo ban, which I assume is coming sooner rather than later,
Nice, nice. All right,
right?
and yeah, and then
Guys?
last but certainly not least, McGregor. Do you want to introduce yourself? Say when you started playing, and actually, I should. We'll probably actually. I'll have another question for introductions after that for all of y'all.
Oh, certainly, yes. I think I started playing right around, I think it's like 2014 when Order and Chaos was like the new big box. And I've been on the NSG design team since pretty early days there. And the big thing I'm excited for this spoiler season is all the narrative stuff. The story today was great. I have seen a lot of art, and I don't know what the story is yet, and so I've resisted, pestering Morgan for the information about what's happening, and so I can just read it and experience it with the narrative. So that's what I'm really looking forward to because I know all the cards.
Very cool. All right, yeah, I should say, as somehow was news to me, despite some of them being on the team I nominally manage, everyone on this cast night is actually in NSG in some role, if I'm remembering correctly. Uh, but yeah, so we're gonna have a group cast where we try and not accidentally spoil anything, but you never know. We might let it slip. Um, but, today was the first day of spoiler season. It's always a big and exciting day. And we got a brand new Weyland ID. And I feel like that's probably the place to start. We're going to have a busy day of stuff to talk about, but seems like a good place as any to get started. So for those of you who this is your first daily cast somehow, I'm glad that Man for Ups Article sent you here, but this is just going to be a cast where the group of us talk about our thoughts on the stuff that happens. Today, we're all kind of established people in some to some extent in the meta, but as the weeks go on, or as the days go on, it's gonna be more people from all different sort of walks of the Netrunner life. The schedule is currently full, but if you're really keen, keep an eye out. I may end up having to post for last minute fills and stuff. But anyway, we have the brand new Weyland identity for the Liberation cycle. It is Nuvum SA, Law of the Land. It is a 50-15 identity. It says whenever you finish resolving an operation or an action on an expendable card, look at the top card of R&D. You may trash that card. The first time you trash a card from R&D during each of your turns, gain 2 credits. Our fist shall hold the world. And art by Kira Nguyen. So what's everyone's... who wants to go first, I guess, on having some thoughts on this card?
I can start. I originally when I first read the card, I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to get something more interesting. Maybe not doing something with the like archivists too much and just focusing on the extract mechanic, expendable mechanic. But more and more I read about this card, it turns about to be cooler and cooler basically. I think there's so many different ways you can try to push the thing, just like rush, just throw cards into the bin, maybe do something with punitive like assets is the only thing that you're probably not going to see from the ID.
Yeah, and I think so. I think firstly, I think Ixaran in chat has it right. This is, I do believe, it is the first ever 50 card minimum corp ID that's ever been printed. Which, yeah, I think was a little bit surprising to everyone. I think like back in the bad old days, good old days, whatever, like with those Museum of History decks running around with like minimum. With the minimum 50 card decks, it just kind of got into everyone's head that, surely there's been a 50 card corp ID printed before this, but no, actually. And yeah, so here we are. And I think it's funny because I think all three of the Weyland cards scooped today are quite interesting, and some would call alarming for slightly different reasons. And for me, what I'm thinking right now is that 2 credits is a lot of credits to be printing on ID ability, which can trigger every turn fairly consistently.
At least it just triggers on your turn, so you cannot get like the huge value against ESA, for example.
Yeah, that's very true. Now I suppose before we actually like start talking about the ability itself, can I just check what does SA actually mean? Does it mean like South America, or is there like a different acronym it stands for?
I do not remember the specifics, but it's essentially like limited liability in Portuguese.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's basically
SA is a go ahead.
Oh no, please. If you went and looked it up quickly, I did not. I was just gonna pontificate.
No, I didn't. But SA is just like you'll see it like Inc. or Limited or what have you at the end of business names in Brazil, and I think across South America as well, because it's a similar acronym in Spanish. But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the specifics, but I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, I don't feel like you need to, but yeah, that was my understanding as well. This is kind of like the equivalent of like Corp Limited Inc. kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So I get to call it just Nuvem.
Yeah.
Don't have to remember the last part.
If it would be like if this ID you could almost translate as like Nuvem Inc. And it's like, yeah, okay, you can probably get away with just calling that Nuvem.
Okay, yeah, I figured it out. It's originally a French acronym, but basically the same acronym works in multiple Romance languages, and it basically means like Society Anonymous, or along those lines, and it's basically the equivalent of like a limited liability company, so not a full corporation, however that works out.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, so I see some people in, just to quickly clarify something I saw in chat, this results on any operation or a card that has the expendable subtype being used as a kind of as a action ability, so it has a click cost to do something. An example of this might be something like Slash and Burn Agriculture is an expendable card. It has a subtype expendable, and it has this click credit revealed from your hand. I'm trying to remember we have 2 others, right? Tree Line, yep.
Tree Line and Angelique.
Yeah, the sniper one.
I was like, I can remember exactly the art on the card, I just cannot remember the name. All of these are expendable cards that have a action ability, click, pay a credit, and do a thing. So that's definitely something you can do with this ID, and then also just play lots of operations and tell Weyland because we built it or no, building a
Building
better
a Better
world.
Yeah, the really old one that nobody wants to play anymore.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna have a slight.
Yeah, just
Okay. Yeah.
click fun. Play 6 credits from Sure Gamble. Sounds fun. And
Yeah.
then just like go pushing super hard or get so much of an economic lead that the opponent can't really interact with you anymore.
So I have a little bit of a rules question. So what exactly does action on an expendable card mean? So does that strictly mean like the click ability?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think action is
What
sorry.
constitutes an action is my question exactly, because like for
Yeah.
example, like if let's say you gave Tree Line an encounter effect when it was installed, like let's say you have a Zato City Grid and a Tree Line, could
Yeah.
you like fire the Zato on the Tree Line and get a Nuvum trigger?
No, so an action is an ability specifically that has I think it's even so specific, it starts with a click cost to it. So it's like click and the other additional cost is an action ability, basically. And any other ability is just a paid ability. And so this is
so an
this is
action is
referring.
a click ability. Okay.
Yeah, an action is a click. It's synonymous with a click ability.
Yeah, and for another example, you wouldn't get anything for resolving a subroutine on Tree Line either. That's not an action. That's a subroutine, obviously. But yeah, actions are specifically the click abilities.
Cool. So, but I mean, so hypothetically, if there was some way to get a click ability on an installed card with an expendable ability, or an expendable card, you could trigger
Yeah,
them, like at will on the board.
yeah.
Yeah, like if the runner had a version of the card that installs and like gives it a click ability to trash it, like yeah, that would do something. But I don't.
Yeah.
The only click abilities on expendable cards that we're planning to print are the trash from hand abilities.
Yeah, I guess if you you could make like a rover algorithm style card, which I should probably pull up because boy, that's a deep cut.
I don't even know what that is.
Rover algorithm is a card that creates a condition counter that gives an ice an ability. And so if you hosted a rover algorithm type card on say Tree Line and that was like click place an advancement counter on this card or something like that, that would trigger Nuvem, and I think Jamie is going to come and hunt me down for even suggesting this idea. But
yeah. So hypothetically, this could be this could happen, and so I'm sure there's some like eternal
It's just popping
jank
up.
that's waiting to happen. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the best precedent for that would be MCA Informant. Of course, that's a corp card granting a click ability to a runner card, so it doesn't actually play with that. But yeah, if a reverse situation happened, that would work, I guess.
I do love that we're spending all this effort talking about these hypothetical weird FFG interactions.
Okay.
But
this is what I do when I talk about Netrunner cards. I talk about this. I don't really talk about the meta.
Okay, hear me. Pancha Tantra.
Yeah.
You're just now getting how quickly can Jeff type while
that would be weird. Yeah, Pancha Tantra's weird. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to first be during a run, but somehow let the corpse spend click abilities on their ice during this run.
Yeah.
Also, it needs to be the competition's turn, so you have to play an offer you cannot refuse, and
Yeah. You're right. Sorry.
Like combos.
That was the obvious implication is that first this was on an offer you can't refuse. One of the mainstays of rules lawyers everywhere.
I'm sure whatever
I
I
legitimately think if we did ever print an offer you can't refuse, that we'd probably just say it works differently than it currently does, just because there's so many things that get broken because of that weird edge case.
I really want to tangent on something here quickly, which is we figured out that there is a one turn like auto lose combo in Eternal as the corp where you can lose on turn 1 with an offer you can't refuse. and we were all quite. I forget why we were doing this, but we figured it was a very fun thing to do. So, all right, maybe we should talk a little bit about Nuvem itself. I don't know. People have thought. It's always. I think we'll not have a hard time talking about the abilities and stuff. I do want to give a shout out to the art here. I think it is like this, the people of the corporation art cycle. I think there's, has really gone above and beyond my expectations for it. I think, and this piece in particular is very, very good, for sure.
Yeah, the art is really sick. I miss the old building style a bit, but it's good to get some variants in there.
Yeah, I also thought someone's shouting in chat, when do we get Darth Vader on his own card? Who knows, right? But we don't.
I think like Darth Vader. Now that you mention it,
that's probably same people or same armor that's on like armed asset protection, right?
Is it? Wait,
Just
is
like
it armed?
the basic.
No, I don't think it's armed asset. It's
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's
that's
somewhat
different.
Maybe it's. Oops. What was it
I
called?
think armed asset. There's the card that has like the art flipped upside down.
Yeah, I thought that was rapid response team.
Right?
Oh, dedicated response team. That's why I wasn't. Yes. Yeah, dedicated. It's still not that similar. Like, it's a very different helmet. That's interesting. Like, the armor is otherwise fairly similar, but the helmet seems quite different.
I mean, it's now that you mention it, the DRT and the armed asset protection armor looks very similar.
Yeah, I think those two looks very similar, like the white faceplate and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, the guy on Nuvem with his kind of Darth Vader mask definitely reads to me more like crowd control. Like it's got more of a gas mask kind of feel to it.
It's a good shout out. Okay, I appreciate y'all for indulging me in this art conversation a little bit. But we should probably also talk about Nuvem. So I guess we talked a little bit about 50 cards. Do you guys feel like that is a balancing mechanic or like, I don't know? What do you guys feel about this being the first 50 card corp identity?
I think it's a bit of a flavor thing, probably. Might be to stop you from doing some sicko combo super early with you being able to tutor out basically your stuff with operations. When you can like dig 3 operations. With 3 operations, you can dig 3 cards down each turn. It makes you pretty likely to find your stuff pretty early.
Yeah, and I mean, just with this corp's ability to see archives, it's quite ripe for, well, I think abuse is a strong word, but definitely I am kind of glad looking at this ID that archive memories is banned. Because it seems like a really good way like to efficiently like dig through and find whatever kind of combo piece that you're thinking about. I mean, not to say that Weyland can't already do that efficiently with cards like Pivot, which is definitely another extremely good include in this deck because it continues to get you a trigger as well, your ID trigger.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it is like a power level like tweak in that you're kind of getting an effective card draw, half a card draw, whatever you want to call it, with the ability to look at the top of the deck. But on the other hand, it may just be one of those things where it's more of a flavor telling you the correct thing to do is to play 50 plus cards, and we kind of just skipped ahead and before people figured that out.
Yeah, I also saw some people in the chat saying like, "Oh, this is just better as Mari," and I don't think it really is, but I'm kind of curious what everyone's thoughts are, just like thinking about that statement for a little bit, and then we might actually start moving on to other cards. But
no, I think it's pretty different. Like the factions just don't work the same right now.
There are like a bunch of things you can do with this ID, all with like varying sickle quotients, I should say. And I think Aksu has touched on like punitive Counter-Strike, I think. Just because I mean, you look at this ID, and I did think to myself, in our current standard meta right now, we already have a deck that wants to play punitive, wants to play big agendas, wants to be rich, and it's gaining money off of its ID, and furthermore likes seeding archives to begin with, right? And that's like Restoring Humanity. And I see like kind of a lot of similarities between that ID and this. Of course, the biggest one being the deck size difference.
Yeah, quite stark actually when you stop and think about it.
But other than that, I think if you wanted to build a punitive deck out of Nuvem, I think you could go pretty far, just because punitive is doesn't cause influence in this deck.
And it even makes you money on the first one.
Yeah, exactly. And you have like such good agenda control tools in faction already. Drudge Work is like super good with 3-point agendas, and is super good with stuff that you want to mill already. And I would say that Nuvem might just turn out to be the best, have the best synergy from an ID with attitude adjustments that's ever been printed.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, so it is after it resolves, right? So you have to fully play your attitude adjustment, and then you get to shuffle. But this is going to be one of the most consistent ways to like have your agents end up in archives and then throw them back. So, yeah. Cool. Well, I think
interesting. Actually.
I do have one other thing I'll throw in for about Nuvem.
Okay, I'll let you come in, and then we'll have Jai finish out.
Yeah, it's real quick, but yeah, I really like that. We were able to find a niche for Weyland that wasn't already subsumed by Ob, in that this strictly cares about the expendable cards and operations, which is something Ob is not really particularly cared about, other than just the power of operations generally. So a deck built with Nuvem is going to look a lot different than Ob. It's not just going to feel like worse Ob.
I do love Op. I am a little bit worried that one day it's going to eat a ban, just because it's so hard to design other Weyland stuff. Though part of me also wonders if when border control goes, if that's just going to be the end of Op as the Weyland ID. Though even right now, it's not really the Weyland ID. But yeah, no, I think this is actually a really nice little space. I saw someone comment in GLC like, this is a mechanic that we've not seen Weyland play with at all before, and yet it feels extremely Weyland. So that's a great thing. And then Jai, you had an additional comment you want to say about this as well.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking out loud and saying like I mentioned, Drudge Work and attitude adjustment, and I don't know if it's a coincidence that those two cards were banned in the Sunset ban list. And yeah, I don't know if like SBT was like considering a format without those cards, just because of like the presence of Nuvem, the upcoming presence of Nuvem, I should say.
Yeah, I think
just thinking out loud.
We'll have to wait and see. All right, I think let's move on to the next card that was spoiled, also in the NSG announcement article. This was Patrick Sklar's little writing piece, which I thought was actually a quite nice little like set of vignettes. This is an art that again will probably look a little bit familiar to people. Maybe a little bit more stylishly finished off, but this is this is Hearts and Minds. It is a 1-cost asset with the subtype political. When your turn begins, you may move 1 advancement counter from an installed card to an installed card you can advance. If the server is not protected by ice, you may also place 1 advancement counter on an installed card you can advance. And this is a 2 to trash, 3 influence Weyland card. Who's got some first thoughts on this one?
I think
So
Jai can
go ahead.
start. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I think the first thing that makes me think is that this does give me hope that, or not hope, but I assume that the cycle of political assets will finish in this set, so we will be getting a HP political asset is my assumption. But as to the card itself, of course, I think most direct comparison that we can probably make is to the other Weyland asset that places counters on card, which is wall to wall. Wall to wall is like much better at like overall resource generation because it gets you cards and or credits as well. But this one can't advance like anything and not just ice. But of course it has to be advanceable. So stuff like you can we have like seen people talking about never advancing 5/3s with this because you can advance the 5/3 and you can move an advancement from something else onto the 5/3 and then advance it 3 times, which is quite spooky, I would say. That's like never advancing a 5/3 is always really exciting thing to do, I would say. And this one technically does it without any other cards involved. It's like just a 1-card combo, which is quite spooky.
Yeah, I guess it needs one other advancement counter on the board somewhere, right? And then this can fast advance. Well, I wouldn't call it fast advance. It can never advance a 5/3 is maybe what I would say. But yeah.
And also you can do like really cheeky damage out of like clearinghouse. Like basically starts from zero counters and then just murk people. Probably a good feat in like the asset optics that have been popping up lately.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think these are all good shouts. I think the biggest thing is figuring out, excuse me, if you want, like, you kind of have to leave this undefended, and we don't have like Mumbed Virtual Tour, or is it?
Do you have hostile architecture that you're probably just sitting this behind, or this is getting protected by it?
Yeah, I just
your only thing. So you have to basically rely on the damage actually doing something. So you really cannot put this in the scoring deck, I think.
I guess you could also maybe look at, like, I guess technically Angelique also works as like protection for it. It just ends up being a little bit expensive. I guess for, you know what, we still actually, as I said, I'm like, well, we still have Warroid Tracker, right?
Oh no.
We still got Warroid Tracker. We still got
we
Overseer Matrix. So maybe you can just leave this out naked.
Yeah, and then opponent pinhole threadings it and.
yeah. Well, that's when you Overseer Matrix them, right? So.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we'll finally see like maybe. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, if the runner is pinhole threading and uniced remote, I think you've already won.
I completely forgot how Overseer Matrix worked for a second. This is why you need to reprint Apocalypse so I don't have to deal with these upgrades anymore.
I don't know. I got convinced. I will plug very, very quickly a video I put out today talking about recapping the Automata Initiative meta, and I was gently arm twisted, which is maybe an oxymoron, into saying that APOC rotating was a good thing for the game. But
that's definitely going to get people fired up.
I also left some good bait to some of my friends in that video, so we'll see. I'm waiting to see if any of them catch it, or if I can just go, neither, you don't listen to my videos, which is good for them. But yeah, this is like a really good card. I think also one thing we haven't mentioned that is, relevant is this is not unique. You could have a bunch of these out on the table, which could lead to some really silly shenanigans probably.
Yeah, at least it doesn't generate too many power advancement tokens. Like with multiple, you just get 3 and you can move 3. You don't really get like 6 that you can get with just having 1.
I mean, it could
Or like
add up
doubling.
pretty quickly though. Like just having 3 on the board.
Yeah, but then
And
you have the 3 assets that cost 2 to trash, and opponent installs Mistborn 1 times and everything is gone.
sure, I can see that. Although 1 cost is of course an interesting number for op, because it's I believe the simplest way to grab 1 cost installable in op is to just empty a Regolith or a Cyber Harvester is also a card. I suppose, yes. So Regolith or Maryland Campaign, I suppose, are the 2 main main self-trashing options. That's if you don't count like anything that extract fetches, but I'm not sure if you want to be playing extract in those kind of go white decks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also other thing on this card is like it's competing with pretty powerful 1-costers in the asset op decks. Like
Mhm.
Bloodborne and Urban Renewal are kind of messed up cards. So this needs to have a pretty high ceiling to actually get on the table.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But you know, I think this card has some really interesting stuff. I also do want to quickly cycle back. The art on this card is just phenomenal. I've already seen this thumbs up being used in a couple of different spaces. And
it's an amazing emote.
yeah, it's just
yeah,
fantastic.
And speaking of the theme, this effect is very much a callback to Space Camp.
Oh yeah.
From, I think, the Order and Chaos. Yeah. And very much on the side of Weyland doing PR. So when we were doing the new cycle of politicals, I worked on that cycle and the cycle for the sysops. And we were looking for kind of a new angle for a Weyland political, so Space Camp was kind of the direct inspiration, and that made its way into the theming for this card as well. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, the other card this reminded me a little bit of is Government Takeover. Yeah, I love this kind of little callback and this side of Weyland of the no, we're going to be we're going to be very in your face about doing good PR in a kind of this feels almost like it's like a 50s vibe, but set in like a future, that kind of just direct in your face propaganda style stuff. But that's a lot of fun.
Corporate Town's got that style of propaganda.
Oh,
I
have the old I don't have the right Corporate Town to pull up for this one, unfortunately. That's fine. Chat is talking about this in Isowak because neither of these abilities count as advancing the card. So you
that is pretty high.
Time to start cooking your Isowak your Hearts and Minds build. Which, who knows, maybe this is the tool it needs. Yeah.
I'd build that.
Yeah, immediately this does have fun. I think also this Improvdivost also seems kind of interesting, where oh yeah, I can load up a Chekis Scion or something for free as the runner makes runs, and then at some point Hearts and Mind will let me start doing some shipment, put this on Vladispirsk city grids or something. Just lots of little options you could look at in a Improvdivost deck too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and you can also probably do stuff like PE, where it just use the assets as from the traps to fill stuff like the clearinghouse.
Yeah, so you can.
It is an excellent card for clearing out mitosis tokens.
Yeah, failed mitosis. You can mitosis, put down Hearts and Minds, and move it off itself.
Well, that's cool.
That's very cool. Cool. Well, I think in the interest of time, let's keep moving. We've got 2 more cards to talk about. Let's get the last Weyland card up. This one, well, I may have a lot to say about this one, even if the rest of you don't. Though maybe not for everyone's intended format, but this is business as usual. It is a zero-cost Operation Grey Ops, and it is resolve one of the following. Place one advancement counter on each of up to 2 installed cards you can advance. Remove all virus counters from one installed card. Threat 3. You may also resolve the other mode. And this is a 1 influence Weyland card.
Okay, I guess before we start, we can maybe get another rules check. So for threat 3 that says you may also resolve the other mode, and I'm not sure whether this would ever come in relevant, but that technically means if threat 3 is active, you can resolve them in either order.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what that means.
Okay. Just checking. And also, I think because this might come up a lot, like when the set releases and people start playing with the cards, so the remove all virus counters from one installed card doesn't count as purging, correct?
Yeah, I think so. The reason everyone would be excited about this purging is, of course, Clot. So you can't, like, even if Clot got virus counters on it, which is, believe it or not, a thing that can happen, removing the virus counters does nothing, and this doesn't say purge, and so it doesn't purge. It just removes virus counters. But, if your opponent has just installed, say, an imp, you could remove the virus counters from that imp. I've seen people actually talking a lot about a card that did not spring to my mind, but is a legal target for this, which is Sandstone.
Oh.
Yeah. So you can.
I was going to mention it if nobody else did.
Yeah. Yeah, and Amakua is another great target of just like cards where it's like, yeah, you'd love to purge them, but sometimes it's not worth taking the whole action. And maybe if you're in a Weyland deck that has like, it's like, okay, if I'm playing one of the ways I've been thinking about this card is like, if I'm playing a Weyland deck that has any advanceable ice, I might actually want to think about playing this because this will let me advance my agenda and advance a piece of ice at the same time. Which seems kind of,
So are you going to play this because it can purge cards, or are you going to play this because it advances stuff? Like, I think you have to do both. Neither side is like strong enough by itself.
I think that's a fair take on it. Is that both of these modes are actually like neither of these cards would be modes you want too frequently. So maybe this card doesn't actually make the cut. But I almost want, if you're playing, if we think back to like Sokka's built to last deck that's like doing a lot of advancements, that deck also might want to say, oh yeah, I'm going to reset your Botulus that you were waiting to charge on a Pharaohs, and I'll also advance these other cards that need their like third advancement counters. Maybe that's something that you can do, right?
Threat 3 would be like extremely good at that point, like opponent steals one agenda, you clear out their Botulus and install advance something. Or just advance 2 ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Can I start a petition to nickname this card "Shipment from Cyberdex"?
Or reverse infection also
the funny thing is we already have that, which was this card that saw. Actually, no, I was going to say this card saw no play, but this card saw play. This is Cyberdex Trial, which is a 0 credit operation that says purge virus counters, right? But this kind of is, you're alluding to also this is Cyberdex Trial, sort of, and also Shipment from Kaguya, which is a card that saw no play for several years and then suddenly was on some people's most, well, this wasn't the card that people hated the most, but was a consistent problem card in the meta. Which is, kind of, it's an interesting thing for a reprint in NSG to some extent, is this card that was mostly played in a single deck, one that I've grown to have a lot of fondness for, which is Cerebral Imaging, a deck that allows you to have a functionally infinite hand size for Netrunner. And you could start playing. You could get 2 agendas down and score them both out in the same turn with business as usual. I think we're probably lacking the support to do that in standard right now. Though who knows? Maybe PD can come up with some kind of combo, right? Or actually,
Yeah.
if you
Asa?
have, I was gonna say, Atea, like somehow,
Oh,
like like
because
if
of the
you.
double install.
Okay, so if your hand is 3 businesses as usual, a biotic labor, and 2 agendas, so it's a 6-card hand, but that's technically possible. You can biotic labor, install both agendas, and then business as usual 3 times for 7
I think some
influence.
game designers ruined this for you with Atea not allowing to score out the card, I think.
Oh, really? Did the devs think of that? Did I make them think of
No,
that?
no way.
You cannot score the second
No!
card this turn. Oh.
Oh, that's illegal.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I even was part of the reason that this ID has that text.
But if you're looking for wombo combos that kind of play off the fact this isn't the basic advance action, I'm sure Miramorph likes this card pretty fine.
Oh yeah, that's a really good shout too, because you could install the card, advance it, business as usual install the card, advance, business as usual. The Miramorph players are somehow bigger.
That's 3
brained
different
than
actions,
me.
ain't it?
It is, but you can't advance with that action because you've already taken the advancement action.
Yeah.
But maybe you can like. I'm sure there's something out there. I also
you have loaded the gun, Jeff, and I'm certain somebody can figure out how to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Or
right?
maybe not Vermouth. Maybe you can do something with wage workers if you go like greasing the palm, the palm, subliminal, business as usual.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point.
And 2 business as usuals, yeah.
Yeah, or as Jai was also saying, like subliminal kind of can substitute for a business as usual as well. Chat is also calling out Vladispear's City Grid, which I think is, maybe this is how you fast advance in ASA now. You install an agenda, end of Vlad's City Grid, and then business as usual, advancing both cards for 1, so you actually get your click compression in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like this is very clearly a little bit of a
5 influence for that.
Yeah, just pay 5 influence for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, San City Grid was 4 influence, right? So it's what's 1 more, and you're saving credits. Yeah,
I can buy it.
Yeah, I think this is like a funky combo card. I've been playing in Eternal nearly exclusively shipment from a 7-point combo deck because it turns out Wage Workers is just a really good card. And
this is just a strict upgrade, correct?
This replaces all 3 shipment from Kakugos, but might also just go, or Kaguyas, sorry. Shipment from Kakugo would be a very different card.
You can ship some Kakugos if you want.
Shipment from Kaguyas, it's like the deck right now uses Shipment from Kaguya and Shipment from Sansan. I'll pull that one up as well because we haven't. Which can sometimes be a little bit awkward to trigger with Wage Workers. So I might replace 1 or 2 Shipment from Sansans with the Shipment from Kaguyas, and the Shipment from Kaguyas were all replaced with business as usuals. But yeah. This is a little combo card, and there's a part of me that really likes little combo pieces, but I think there are some kind of, while I don't know that it's super likely that Glacier's going to play it, at the same time, if I'm playing like a Nuvim Glacier deck, maybe this is a good way to trigger my ID ability. Make 2 credits, advance 2 advanceable cards, and remove virus counters from a Botulus. That actually sounds like a great card to have that I play sometimes.
Yeah, clearing virus counters probably is really good right now with all of the virus stuff going on. So
Yeah, we've got
having
everyone
extra
running.
virus hit doesn't hate.
Yeah, actually, the more I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, if I can just spend one click to remove all the virus counters off of a Botulus, like that's great. I'll trade a business as usual for a simul chip. That sounds like a fantastic exchange for me as the corp.
Or fermenter even.
Yeah, fermenter is another really good shout.
Yeah, there are multiple cards that the corporation runner just has one virus on the table. Basically, fermenters, aumakuas, conduit, stuff like that. Only where the runner has one copy on table where you don't actually need to purge.
Yeah. Yeah, Ballroom, we were also calling out Trick of Light as this is a potential setup for Trick of Light Fast Advance. So, yeah, it's I think it's going to be a niche card. I think it's kind of an interesting niche. Also, I think Jamie in chat was asking what the art on this looks like. This is like a really fun take on. I'm going to call them Weyland goons doing a cleanup of a crime. Though it's not clear to me how goonish these people are. This is actually
kind of sells it.
Yeah. This is like a very funny kind of riff on the cleaners in some way.
Oh, that one got me. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, like very it's a more literal cleaners, I guess. Yeah. It's but this is actually a really nice piece from Oliver Mort. Like the art the art in these NSG pieces continues to be just really, really quite strong, which has been a real treat to see. All right.
This is definitely the day after like the exciting thing happened. This is we got to send in like 3 guys who are not like badasses, but they can be trusted not to say anything after the fact.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a good one. Yeah, people calling out the Dutch angle. Okay, we have one more card to talk about, and this is not a Weyland card. This is the first card that was fully spoiled. This is Burner. This is a 1-cost run event out of Shaper. What? And it doesn't say R&D on it? I don't think those were allowed to be printed. But this says Run HQ. If successful, instead of reaching HQ, reveal 3 cards in HQ at random. Add 2 of the revealed cards to the top and or bottom of R&D. Oh, okay. Everyone in chat's correcting me. It does in fact say R&D.
That's how we tricked you. That we couldn't print it otherwise. That was the rule.
Okay. Well, egg on my face. Well, I'm gonna call on Aksu here first to give me some takes on Burner.
Okay, as the biggest PD enjoyer, I think this card is absolutely busted. Like, I really don't want to be playing against Control Lat with this thing. You just rip off the seamless out, you basically multi-axis agendas. The card does so much. I think I have the like rose-tinted glasses though on that when all the different people have been calling that it's actually not that busted, but I think it's going to be pretty wild.
I mean, why else did we give PD an extra +1 hand size if not for this eventuality?
We've been preparing for this day for years just to riff on the flavor text. I mean, so Arisanos on this flavor text. Arisanos on this flavor text, and we know she's a graffiti artist, and I assume that that's that she is the one who graffitied this the bird symbol on the building. Although it's interesting that we've seen this bird symbol before, right? On the I believe it was like in one of these in the splash art for the other
For the story thing, for the
yeah
like medical worker.
yeah the Jinteki in the Jinteki fiction.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that seems to be like a kind of like a recurring theme in this set, and I think it's significant that Ari is spray painting a bird on this building instead of a frog, which appears to be more of a calling card. I don't know if there's like a theme there.
Yeah,
The bird art was also actually on the like box art for the set. On that art, there was also this same image.
Oh yeah,
I
it's like
believe it was
recurring.
also referenced in today's fiction. The story with the Hearts and Minds scene. I think it was referenced as well.
right. Okay. Yeah, and I assume this is like a symbol of like the revolution, the rebellion, as a whole, and like Ari is doing this as like a as a statement rather than as a personal thing.
yeah.
That's my read on it, not knowing the full story.
Yeah, and in tech-wise, I'm assuming probably some drones were involved or some really sick hover skates. I feel like maybe, while I think drones is the realistic explanation, I now kind of am going to have to headcanon hover skates. Just
the air
skating up the
blades,
side of
yeah.
a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, air blades.
I'll quick talk about Burner. As far as this card goes, it's definitely us kind of paying off a promise that we set up with cards in on the criminal side, that criminals are allowed to care about R&D, and now shapers are allowed to care about HQ. It was a little bit more one-sided coming into, that's a great, Wake Implant's a great example. We're still trying to figure out exactly how that works, but Burner is kind of the first time we've hit that in the NSG era, and as far as multi-axis goes, we definitely want to try to keep it weighted in one way or the other towards R&D and HQ, but it's so I'm excited to see how this plays out in the meta. I hope it keeps the color pie fair at the very least, and that you have to go to the R&D to actually get the card that if you want to steal it.
I think this card is like one key example. Like, if this was a criminal card, I don't think it would be clearly like anywhere as good. But typically, like Lines Against Shaper, you just don't ice HQ before stuff like DJ Fenris gets installed. So this forces the corporation to actually care about icing HQ, which can be seen as a positive and a negative, depending on who you ask.
I mean, if you're Arasano, who's getting a lot of value out of the corp having spread out a little bit too thin and actually putting ice in a lot of places, I think like there's a good number of shaper builds. Even especially, I always think of like Dow as like the quintessential shaper deck that like the corp just makes two big tall towers and leaves HQ completely undefended because that's the best way to play against it. And suddenly Burner comes in and says, well, maybe I can make you regret that choice, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think this is a quite versatile card. I don't know exactly how strong it is. But I feel like it's got like multiple strong modes. Like there's, this is, this seeing all three, if there's only 3 cards in HQ, I think this card becomes absolutely wildly strong. But then like you have the mode of like, I'm going to put an agenda back on top and then run R&D and steal it. We have the, you have a combo kill piece, let's put that on the bottom of your deck, or you're playing PD, let's make sure that you never draw a seamless launch all game, or put them all on the bottom of the deck. That seems pretty good. And then you also
it's actually like really. Go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah, it's a really different style of disruption for Shaper, which is kind of interesting. Typically, Anarch has been the like disruption faction, where you just trash stuff out of corporations and stuff like Imp, stuff like More. But here you actually shuffle those cards back in. It's kind of like... What was the really bad version of Light the Fire called?
Because I can.
Oh yeah, that one. Like that also shuffles stuff back in the deck. I think that is feels kind of like a Shaper thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think
It also has
another...
graffiti in. It's a graffiti team. That's very interesting.
Oh yeah, that is funny. I think for me, the other thing that might be kind of cool with this is like, oh yeah, I'm up on, or the corp is ahead of me on tempo. Let me just run, play burner and like put 2 ice on the top of their deck, and like I've kind of slowed them down by a little bit and not slowed myself down quite as much. As like a way to buy some time while you build up towards your Doom Rig. So like this card does seem like it can fit a bunch of different roles. I think it's just gonna be a matter of finding like which roles it shines the best in, and if Shaper can actually make use of the style of like aggressive run event. That's like the thing is, this is at the same time as it does all these cool things, it's also like part 1 of a 1-2 punch, and so you have to figure out if Shaper can like deliver that second punch to kind of pay off the burner.
I do think you definitely will be seeing Shapers play this card just for, I mean, even if as you say, they may or may not be able to like go back into R&D on the same turn to get the steal or whatsoever, but just even as a pure disruption tool, and even if you can't get agendas, you can just put them on the bottom of the deck or whatever to make sure no one can get them, that kind of thing. That's a very big deal. I guess what I'm more interested in is like firstly to see if this gets imported into any other factions. I like Anak already has Imp for disruption, so it may not be as attractive to like all the Mulch style decks that are out there, but maybe Rek Hoshiko or some other Rek Anak deck can make use of this.
Yeah, the only problem I see with that is that it is a 3-cost run event that you can just play once. That typically is not a thing you want to see or want to import often. Stuff maybe. Yeah, we have seen people import Bravado, but I think Bravado is one of the best cards in the game, so importing that makes sense.
Yeah, Bravado is one of the strongest single events I think printed of all time. It's not the strongest. I think Account Siphon still takes that cake pretty handily, but yeah, I don't know. It is tricky to figure out, because it's like, yeah, if this card was blue, it like we all would agree it doesn't see play, but the fact that it's green, it's like we're all like, maybe that's the color this card needs to be. So
I mean, if you're comparing to like blue run events, I think you compare this to Embezzle, and I think like Crim players cry a little bit inside there.
Ooh. Sorry about that. Yeah. Embezzle was the card I definitely should have started with, and like, it's interesting because it's like, oh, Embezzle actually makes you money sometimes. I mean, never when I've played it, but in theory, it makes people money. It's often made my opponents money.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a big part there.
Yeah.
The other important thing, I guess, on this gives Shaper kind of a reason to poke HQ for value, the disruption element, and you're going to get information from this about what they're planning, especially in closed deck list. You're going to be knowing a lot more about kind of where the corp is in their stage of the game, and you're going to be slowing them down.
Yeah. All right, we are starting to get towards the end of our hour, and I want to respect everyone's time. I know Aksu is staying up quite late for this. I'm going to quickly shout out, the GLC is running some kind of crazy cryptographic ghost thing with 2-byte Ike, and this is, I don't actually know I forget whose document this is. I think it's Strange Goves, but spelled in a way where it's missing a couple of vowels, as people try and figure out what the card might be and hints out of a bunch of different things. If you like puzzling, if you like trying to figure things out, this seems like a very fun activity, though it is honestly moving a little too fast for me. But that's sort of it for the spoilers we have today. I want to say thank you once again to all my guests, and I might go, we talked about this at the head, but I'd love to hear, after today's discussion, like McGregor, anything in particular you're looking forward to seeing, and maybe it's reactions, maybe it's story elements. What are you most excited about for spoilers season ahead of us?
Yeah, I think after this discussion, I think the thing I'm really interested to see people kind of react to are some of the cycle completions that we started in the first set, and we're going to finally see completed in this set. Obviously, the IDs are one, but we just saw the politicals, and there's a few other cycles that we're going to see kind of filled out. So I think people are going to be really excited by that, just from a symmetry pleasing perspective. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff to come.
Fantastic. All right, Jai, any what are you most excited about so far or upcoming, you think?
I mean, I think pretty excited about like the power level of the cards that I've been seeing so far. I think like all 4 of the cards that we've seen today are like interesting in different ways and scratch like different itches. And I mean, I'm not sure whether these cards are like designed for Eternal, and I'm not even sure whether like NSG like designs cards in their sets with like other non-standard formats in mind. But I think like specifically business as usual as a replacement for shipment for Kaguya is like it's quite fascinating, and I hope to see like more of these kinds of neoprints in the future.
Cool. And Aksu, last but certainly not least, what are you excited about either from today or looking forward to the rest of the season?
I just really want to see the HB ID. And of course the Anarch ID. Just like, please let me play some regular reg decks or rush decks.
We already have reg decks and rush decks in both of those factions.
I want to play different flavors. I don't want to play the same deck for one more year.
Can I interest you in some OB? All right. Well, thank you all 3 of you for coming on. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We've got, I think, the Anarch ID up tomorrow. If I'm remembering the schedule correctly, I guess I could look it up.
Sounds right to me.
But yeah, other people, I'm pretty, wait, hold on. Let's just look it up. Tomorrow is the Anarch ID with a story by Anzuke and a design article by Safer, who will then also be coming on Daily Cast. So if you have questions for Safer, save them, and we'll hopefully cover some of them along with 2 other fantastic guests for tomorrow. And yeah, I think that's everything. So yeah, thank you all, and tune in tomorrow, same time, same place. Should be here every day this spoiler season. So have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. It was a blast.